You know, I want to sit like on the side of the couch like Roger does for the counter ruck, like that. How he puts it in
Yeah,
best.
yeah.
But then I think like a teams if I you reckon he sets that up for himself though? Like he
Yeah,
just takes
yeah, oh, sure, for sure he does.
now already. Like is my shirt tight enough? Is it tight enough so the boys can see how big my guns are, or at least this gets a good glance at that. Man, I love that guy. Eh. Anyways, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another recording of the Back of the 135 Footy podcast. Once again, I'm joined by some of the boys, big league fans. We just love sharing our thoughts and how much we love the game of league. Firstly, I'm joined by the also all the way from out south, Stacey. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, brother? Thanks for having me back on. Good to be back here and enjoying some good rugby league banter with all the boys.
Yeah, we got some real good feedback from the last time you were on. There were, I think everyone could see that you had your cue cards. And I think at least,
Yeah, definitely
at least,
reading.
you can't have those auto cue. I think that's the next thing we use. Probably have those auto cue screens. So I'm excited for you. Also,
Now, I know there's a lot of passionate Warriors supporters out there, so I'm not surprised we got a lot of feedback. And I know the boys are quite backing the Warriors secretly, I know.
okay, nice. Just across the road, only a couple of meters away, but sitting in his humble abode, Sam. So what's up?
So, bro, looking forward to the chat tonight. Bit of a busy weekend, but yeah, no, looking forward to round 3.
Well, it's good that you made it all the way back from down the southern motorway after that tag, but we can touch on that. I think it was the guy who stays across the road. I think he might have set up something. The guy,
Yeah.
the ACT, I think, was the one who went and sabotaged the cones and the referees for that tournament. But fella sit on how he did that. And also, I got also Tama here, a hardy Penrith Panthers fan, and someone we had on last year.
How's it going? Hey,
Oh, nice.
back by popular demand. I know the audience out there has been banging on the door to hear mighty Penrith Panthers voice on this, and well, here I am.
Is that a washing? Is that a washing machine or?
Car wash.
That's the sound you hear after every try at Blue Bet Stadium, and you're going to be hearing it a lot this year.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so we didn't do a recording last week. So what we're gonna do to start off with, we're just gonna go around the table and just talk about our general views of the first 2 rounds. So I'm gonna start with you, Stace, the big Warriors fan, and just the comp in general, and all the new rule changes. How do you find it, Us?
Yeah, it was good. I think when we did our preview, guys were quite excited that the footy was back on. So I was also really good to see the footy. I think even though we're 2 rounds in, some of the new rules have made a bit of a difference. The fatigue factor and just the good teams are really starting to pull away. So we're already seeing sort of a clear-ish sort of top 4 or 5 teams and a sort of clear bottom 3 or 4 teams. So I'm not sure if that's good for the competition, but I think the rules have meant that, like, if you can dominate possession and fatigue the other team, then you can sort of blow the other teams out, and it really becomes a lot more clearer who the top teams are. So, that's one of the things that I found quite noticeable, at least in the first couple of rounds.
Oh, nice. What about you, Sam? Your general view of the first 2 rounds since we got last caught up.
Yeah, no, first 2 rounds, I thought they were pretty good. Man, some of my picks were right off, especially with the West Tigers. That was disappointing. Man, that was disappointing. I had big hopes on them. I thought this was, forget that.
Yeah, I think that we'll touch on that because we're going to talk about one of the other categories we're going to touch on who hasn't lived up to their preseason type. But we'll talk about that later. Anything else that you wanted to touch on, or what about your team? What about Souths?
Yeah, no, look, man, I thought it was their first game. Yeah, I think just Storm just came out too strong in that first half, and it was kind of a bit too much for them to catch up towards the end. But maybe if there was an extra 10, 15 minutes, maybe a little bit closer. But no, yeah. Second game was a lot better, but still disappointed in the end with the score, even though it was a win. But I thought they could have done a bit better. But maybe the weather didn't help. I don't know. Yeah.
Hard. Tama, your views on the first two rounds, mate?
Well, the first 2 rounds, the first round, the footy was like fast. You notice the game is a lot faster now. Less breaks, less stoppages. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, because you kind of sometimes looks like they're playing tag, because it's so fast they keep moving. But for me, the first 2 rounds was good to watch. I don't really think you can gauge the season like based on the 2 rounds, especially in the last round because of the weather and that's like a great equalizer. If you saw like the Warrior or the Eels and the Storm, those 2 tries that Micah Sivo got is half him, half the rain because he can't catch those in the dry. Like, it's 50-50. I reckon it's still like you can see the teams that are going to be good and the teams that probably need to um, pack it in for now. Now, the teams that need a lot of work, but I reckon like the difference between the top team and maybe 9 and 10 isn't as big as you would think. But yeah, it's been pretty. It's just good to watch some footy, eh? Like to be honest, because if you have Sky, King, I maka watch ridiculousness on MTV all day and just those same Freddy for Freddy on ESPN. So Sky paying $100 a month waiting for the league. So, but yeah, the footy's been fast, and yeah, I want to see how these new rules are gonna play out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Hey, also congratulations as well on the Panthers. I think it's the first team to win consecutive games scoreless. With the opposition scoreless.
Well, yeah, I'm not
Um,
surprised if I'm
bit
if
of
I'm
a,
being if I'm gonna be honest. I'm not surprised. Like
especially especially playing the two bottom teams, eh?
I knew this was going somewhere, right?
yeah. Well, of course, great defense is it's a Ivan Cleary benchmark. Is the team's always gonna Ivan Cleary coach team's always got pretty well drilled, decent defense. It's just the attack that they really need to like work on. But even that's been amazing. Like one of the highest scoring teams. I could. Don't get me started on the Panthers. This could be a 1 hour talk about why we're gonna win.
We're trying to keep it under an hour, okay? But is there a few rules that you feel like has helped improve this? What improved the footy as a spectator sport? Because there's the one where if you get the restart, or like if you kick out and you start from the middle of the field, uh, you you get to play the ball, and there's the other. What are the other new rules? I think there was another one. I thought that one was all right. Is there another? Is there any other rules that you guys liked?
The
Stace?
less scrums, eh?
Yeah, less scrums.
Yeah. So it looks like that when the ball goes out, it's not a scrum anymore. Pretty much, it's just
Turnover and
yeah,
dead
yeah.
ball, yeah.
And
Yeah,
so that
listening to the commentators on it, some of them actually quite like. They prefer to have the scrums back, because it's more of an opportunity to score. Whereas where you just play the ball, it's like full on brick wall to try and get through
Yeah,
again. Yeah.
yeah.
did you? I noticed off the scrums they were doing a lot more like kind of set move stuff. If you saw it like the first the first week I think it was the Broncos. Well, the Broncos came out against the Eels and they scored those 2 tries on Sivo. Oh, and the Eels. Sorry, they scored those tries, they're mostly off the scrum. So I think for the new rules, you're gonna see a lot more like set plays. Because before it was more they were just getting off the scrum and just hitting it up, eh? So it looks like they're gonna try and get these mismatches on the scrums, which is something cool to watch as well.
Stace, are you there?
Yep. No, just enjoying Tama bathing in his team's glory at the moment. So, no, well done to the Panthers. They've been amazing.
Oh, thanks. Absolutely correct. It's amazing. That's a apt word, apt description of the first 2 rounds. I mean, I thought we talk about the Panthers. Like, I'm being totally honest when I look at the team. Are we going to talk about?
No. We'll do. This is the section where you talk about your own team so far, so you can.
Well, I thought.
I'll give you 5 minutes.
Okay, well, that should be enough. Well, if I look at the Panthers right now, and I look at just the depth in the team, Cleary, he's been announced as he's out for tomorrow because of Watine Zelezniak. He clotheslined him,
That wasn't intentional.
If you look at that,
So-
the man was Undertaker and Kane, and he clotheslined him. That was what a load of caca, and he didn't even get sent off. But hey, it's what it is.
Because he showed remorse straight away because it was an accident.
Well,
he checked on his well-being straight after. So
that's not how the law works. If I kill someone and I stand there and check on him and see if he's sorry,
Well,
I'm
it's a bit
still
extreme,
going to jail, And he could have killed him, There's a swinging arm. That's assault if you look at it. But it is what it is. He's still salty that he's where he is now and from where he came from. But as I said, if you look at the Panthers, the depth in that team's amazing. Like Cleary, he's out. And then who do we bring in? Burden, who's pretty much one of the top young halves in the game. He can't get a look in. And
future Bulldog.
Yeah, well, the Bulldogs are desperate for him, offering
I don't know, desperate.
They're begging for him, like from what I understand.
I wouldn't say begging. That's a pretty extreme word.
Well, I mean, would you rather
Just politely writing a few emails and a few phone calls?
Yeah, wow. That is what it is. But he's gonna come in, and he's not gonna skip a beat. So tomorrow against the Storm, I predict the Penrith Panthers by 20 at least.
Oh,
and and as I said, like looking towards the whole season, if I really look, if I look at the whole team and the whole squad, 1 to 20, 23, 1 to 30, I think like we're on the precipice of greatness. Like for people who are watching this is history. This team could go 28-0 and win the whole thing. And like, if I'm a betting man, I'll chuck something on that. What's the odds of that? I'll tell you what, great odds. Look at them. That team is young. They got experience. The chemistry's there. 28-0. 5 minutes. 3 minutes left. I started at 9:20. It's 9:22.
Nice.
When I look at the Panthers, I look at that team. 28-0 is not impossible, and we can check back at the end of the year. Will I be wrong? I don't think so. I look at the back, depth all over. Look at the forward, Spencer Leniu, Moses Leota, Capewell. All those guys are Origin players. Mosi Leota's borderline, Liam Martin. They were all pushing for New South Wales selection, and then we had Capewell, who, he pretty much won it for Queensland on his own. But we were talking about Origin.
The worst team. The worst Queensland team ever.
Yeah, but, if we're talking about the Panthers, I think for the rest of the NRL, get used to hearing a lot of... like, I'll back them. And if they lose, well, they'll obviously, the fix is in. Because people don't want to see one team just dominating over and over again. But based on the first 2 rounds, it's going to be a long season for everyone else. 28-0 is not impossible, and if you look at some of the other teams, I think that there's something that could very well happen. I mean, it might sound overboard, but it's not impossible.
I'm sure Mark Guy is proud of you. But since you guys asked, Since you guys asked, man, yeah, no, I think yeah, Benji absolutely stepped up and yeah, he just did what he usually does, and he stepped in for Reynolds. But yeah, no, thank you for asking.
Hey, we're coming to you, bro. What about your team so far? Also, there's the yeah. So Souths, you kind of touched on it before, but who in your team besides Marshall stepped in, and who are you excited for? Besides, you already said Latrell Mitchell before. Who's kind of surprised you in the first two games so far, also for your team?
Um, I thought in that first game was I thought I was pretty disappointed in the Fords, to be honest, in that first game. But they obviously came back a lot stronger in that second game, and maybe because they played Manly. Sorry to all the Manly fans, but yeah. But I thought in that first round, the Storm they just wanted it more. They were hungry and they just came out firing. And I think they just caught everyone off guard. Even the fans were off guard. I think we expected a much closer match, like from kickoff, not towards the end. So, and I think there was a lot of talk in regards towards Damien Cook and how he doesn't run as much as he used to. And but then I thought Wayne Bennett made it clear that he could run it as much as he could, but you don't want him to run all the time because he has to pick and choose the right time, and it all comes down to the forwards. They have to make the yards. They have to do the hard yards before Cookie can decide on doing something else. But I think we can't just, I felt for him like you can't really just point the finger at the one guy. It all comes down to the team effort, and I think the forwards played a big part in that loss against Melbourne. Yeah.
Oh, Latrell Mitchell. What do you think about him this year? From the first two games, I thought he looks mean, eh?
Yeah, I like him. Like he seems to be more excited about being the assistant guy rather than the try score. Whereas how he was at the Roosters, he was always scoring the tries, and people were saying, "Oh, he's not scoring as many tries." But if you look at the tries that we do score, he's the guy that touches the ball. Just before they score the try. So I still think he plays a big part. Like I think their fullback role, he can easily fit into the centres, like a centre role from the fullback. So he's no longer just sticking to that one side and their threat to that one side of the field, but he's now a threat to both sides, and it makes it a lot harder for the defense to sort of measure out what the plan is and what he's going to do.
Yeah, I think the thing I thought that was the best from him was he was like picking and choosing when to run the ball, like
Yeah,
a lot better. So he wasn't just taking it. It looks like his vision is like he looks really good. Like I'm really excited to see what he can do. He looks like he's a bit more settled than he was when he came in last year. Eh?
last year, yeah. Like he seems a lot happier this year. Now that it's his second season with the pretty much the same lineup as last year. But I just think, yeah, no, like you say, I think it's all that mental side. Like last year, I spoke a lot about how Wayne Bennett's just a master of mental health and one to one with players, and having that one to one with Latrell, it's really helping. He just knows, trusting in the coach and the coach trusting in the players. I think that plays a big part.
Before I cross over to Stace, Damien Cook came out. They asked Damien Cook who was the better fullback, and he said that Latrell Mitchell was better than James Tedesco, about Teddy, the New South Wales cheetah fullback guy. Uh, is there any truth to this, Tama?
That's a big. I mean, he actually said, doesn't he? That's his
Yeah, that's
fullback.
loyalty. Yeah.
At the moment, mm, hmm, no.
Come Origin time and Latrell's on fire at the full at the fullback position. Does he take that spot?
No. Tedesco will be one, and Latrell will be in the centres. If I'm picking it today, one centre is Latrell, and the other one is Credden.
Oh, I knew that one was
Get
coming.
Gutho. Fuck. Gutho, he is not a centre. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's got a ton of heart, but yeah. Latrell, he looks good, but not as good as Tedesco.
What
But
about you?
he can get there.
What about you, Sammy? You're on
Um,
your Spurs.
yeah.
Right.
Um. Oh man, I can't compare. I think they're both different in their own styles. Like I think if you're looking at I think Latrell's a lot stronger, but I think Tedesco's quicker and he can get into the gaps faster. Whereas I think Latrell can break the line if he was going to run it straight through somebody, and I think he could draw a lot more players towards him than Tedesco could. But I quite like the Melbourne Storm fullback. I think he's a lot, he's that nippy style. Kind of reminds me of Billy Slater. Yeah.
Peppenhausen.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
where does he go then? If because he's pretty good, and he's probably been the form player for the Melbourne Storm in the opening two games.
Mm.
And he's the bench. He's that
Utility.
utility
Utility.
come and provide us back. But he's playing for the Storm,
Oh.
and we don't want to talk about. He's not to talk about the Storm.
Stace, what's your view on this one, man?
Yeah, I'm really happy with Latrell the way he's gone. I thought he's been bloody outstanding, and I actually picked him for a smoky for the Dalian Player of the Year in our preview. So I'll put that in there. But it's hard to compare. Like, I mean, I'll give Latrell credit for being awesome for 2 games, but if you look at Tedesco, he's been good for sort of 3 or 4 years and probably been the number one fullback for a while. So that longevity over a while does count. I think Latrell said he wants to be the best fullback within the next sort of 2 or 3 seasons, and I think he's capable. But I'm with Tama. If the Origin team was named, Tedesco's almost undroppable from fullback. I think he's won a couple of Player of the Series awards for New South Wales, so he'll stay there. And I think Mitchell will get a run in the centres, like he's played for them before.
Mm.
Okay, then your team so far, the Warriors. Your impression and
Your team this year.
Yeah, it's sort of a similar story for the Warriors, but I do think a win and a loss is sort of a fair reflection of where we're realistically at. I said in our season preview that I thought the Warriors would finish in the bottom half of the eight, and when I look at the two teams that they've played, the Titans, they finished I think ninth last year, and they've got a couple of high-profile signings, so they have genuine ideas of making the top 8 this season. And the Knights were a top 8 team last year, and they'll be looking to make another sort of finals run. So I think we've played two teams who have similar goals to the Warriors, where they think they could possibly make realistically the bottom half of the 8. So I think, I think we're in a good place. I know in our preview we had a few question marks over whether the big forward pack that we've got could compete with in the new speed of the game and with the new rules. And I thought they did well. I thought Cernan has played well, and FONUA-BLAKE is another guy who looks really good. So the new signings have really shown themselves to be quite astute from the Warriors. I am a bit concerned about a couple of things. I think they've got a couple of injuries. So Chanel Harris-Tavita, he's out for 12 weeks. And that's a bit of a loss. I thought him and Nikorima were starting to build a good partnership last year. But Nikorima is the senior half, so it's really on him to carry the Warriors forward. They've also lost Ewan Aitken. So a bit of experience there in the centres that they've lost. And a big concern is they both play on that left edge. So the Warriors, I think they're going to attack more down that right side with Nikorima and Hiku and Fusitua going forward. And that might make their attack a bit predictable. So, but all in all, I think the Warriors are in good stead. I think they've played two teams, like I mentioned, who have genuine top 8 aspirations, and they've given a good account of themselves. So it's still early days, as Thomas said. 2 rounds is hard to get a real gauge, but I'll give them a pass at this early stage. I'll say that at least.
I think the Warriors, if we're being honest, it's like a misconception that I hate the Warriors, but I don't. I just hate a lot of their fans. The Warriors actually look pretty good. If we're looking at their forwards, the Tongans that they
Yeah.
got over,
Mm.
oh man, they look mean. I reckon these rules set suit Ben Masila in his 20-minute stint and his when he comes in and makes an impact. I thought he looked amazing in the first 2 rounds. I think the Warriors are gonna surprise a lot of people this year. I think Stacey's just trying to keep it low key. I feel like they should have won that night's game if not for a
Yeah,
few, little things that could have gone their way. But I think if the halves play really well with the forwards rambling up, and then if we can get Tuivasa and with his hands on the ball before he comes over to the Blues, then I reckon the Warriors might surprise a lot of teams this year. I really like think they could be a dark horse. I like the thing that I really liked about the way the Warriors played, or what I see is that they stay in it, for the whole 80, and that's a
yeah.
mean ass thing for the Warriors. It'd be nice to see them back here at Mount Smart, but yeah, uh, I am looking forward to the Warriors there, Stacey. You know what
Yeah,
I
no,
want?
that's good because I agree with around the 80 minutes. That was sort of one of the concerns with the big forward pack is they might be good for 60 odd minutes and then get run down in the last quarter, but that hasn't happened thus far. So we'll see how we go. It's only 2 rounds, so but yeah, I'm pretty happy. And like you said, that forward pack, if they can continue what they're doing, and Nikodima operating behind that, um, might surprise a few. So I've still got high hopes.
Tony Kemp on the weekend, I was listening to him on the radio, and he said that he brought up the stat. I don't know if it's totally accurate, but just off the top of my head, he said that Nikorima touched the ball 42 times, mate, and he only ran it twice. So his big question was Nikorima's just shoveling it on. He's not either, and he's not putting in decent kicks. And because Tony Kemp was quite, he's quite harsh. He's quite hard on Nikorima, and he thought that he should either get dropped or really start taking the ball to the line. Did you notice anything like that? Watching them on the weekend.
I don't know if I should get dropped, but like I mentioned, and what you're touching on as well is he is the senior half there. So
Yeah,
Janelle Harris Tavita, he was sort of a bench utility for a bit, and it wasn't until Blake Green left that he got the 7 jersey. So he's very young in his NRL career, which means that it has to be on Nikorima to as a senior half to step up and carry the team. And now they've got young Sean O'Sullivan in there, who's even more green than Harris Tavita was. It's really on Nikorima to be the main guy, and I think that's what Tony Kemp's alluding to. Nikorima has to step up and really lead the team around. So I agree with that. Not to be dropped, but for him to step up a bit more.
Sam, did you want to join in on doing the Warriors their props, or are we just going to skip over these guys?
No, I really like their props. I think they got man, 3 massive, powerful runners. Like the 2 Tama boys and
And Leeson's there.
Four.
Leeson's still there. Is Leeson
Yeah,
Yep,
on the
Mel?
back.
Yeah.
he's still there. R4, like you said. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I think they're lucky they got 3, massive runners, and yeah, I think they're lucky. Man, I picked them as well.
Yep. But yeah, like Tama said, that's a game they should have won. So we could have been 2 from 2. And when you look back as a Warriors supporter, where we finished sort of 2 points outside the 8 or 4 points outside the 8, it's those type of games where you think you should have won and you sort of snatched the defeat from victory in this instance that really come back to hurt you at the end of the season. So
I
hopefully that
remember
doesn't happen again.
Yeah, last year was like that. Like you look at their record, there was a lot of losses, but they were all real close games.
Yep.
And then I remember just watching. I was like, oh man, only just. A lot of the games were real close, and it was last minute stuff as well. So yeah.
So, but I hope there for the Warriors. Nice. Hey, before we go on to the preview for the next couple of games, there was a few topics that came up during the first 2 rounds. One that you wanted to talk about, Sam, was the Toby Rudolf controversy about the post-match interview that he had. Um, what 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 was it about that that you didn't that you felt you needed to bring it up?
Oh, I just think some people might think I'm way off, but I just thought that was rubbish. I think it's rubbish, like how people brought it up and made it a big thing. I understand there's a whole thing about being respectful towards the opposite sex in it, but I just think they're just blowing up big things over nothing, like. And obviously, he was just joking around. He wasn't, serious about it. And towards the end, he did say he was just, back into that, relaxed mode and recovering mode, And it's not like he was going to drink 1,000 beers and, do the other stuff he said he was going to do. Nobody complained about Brent Todd's interview, did they?
Yeah.
I'll have to get Karen to insert that interview and so that people know what we're referring to when we talk about that Brent Todd one. What about you, Stace? What did you think about the big, um, you know, how everyone made a big thing out of this? Even though he corrected himself towards the end, he even said, "Oh, I'm just joking. I'm going to have a quiet
Yeah.
one. I'm going to go ice bath, recover."
No, I thought it was. I'm with Sammy. We live in quite a politically correct world these days, so people get offended very easily over small things like this. And if you listen to a lot of post-match interviews, you get, was a game of two halves and full credit to the opposition. No one says anything interesting at all, and this is part of the reason why. If you say something slightly a little bit weird, people look at you funny and people question you and all that, and that's why you get people just saying full credit to the opposition, those really vanilla answers, and that's not what we want. Sport and the NRL is entertainment. And if you look at the sort of sporting landscape in Australia, they've got AFL and NRL and the soccer there and rugby, all movies and all the rest of it. There's a lot of competition for people's attention. So we need to. I'm not saying heaps of controversial stuff, but we need to get the players to be a bit more interesting and show a bit more of their personality. And if you keep on slapping players on the wrist for doing that, then you're going to get more vanilla answers, which isn't good for anyone, I don't think.
What about you, Tama?
Yeah, yeah, I kind of agree with like what you guys are saying, but I can understand what the why people were kind of um upset, I guess. And I know it's just the state of society the way that we're in now, but I think why people were angry was because they could be viewed as like derogatory. And for me personally, like I didn't I was all good with it. I thought like it was, pretty tame compared to some of the stuff I laugh at. And like but I can understand why people were upset because
You mean Australians?
yeah, Australians, yeah, why the people got upset because the NRL they've been pushing this like women in league and that's all that's cool, but they can't have the women in league and then have players saying that they're gonna pull um
Mm.
a million girls and like even though we know it's a joke, like because it's a joke. He even says at the end, I have the quote here. He says something like, "It's all about recovery these days," or "It's all about I'm actually just gonna have an ice bath." But the reason people are kind of upset was because like because yeah, it could be derogatory to women, and the NRL probably doesn't need it with everything that's going on in terms of women in the game and there's a lot of men. There's a lot of young fellas out there who are watching Toby Rudolf, and it's like it. I don't know, perpetuates or pushes ideas of like, I don't want to say this on a footy podcast, like toxic masculinity and all these buzzwords that the woke warriors love to use. But that's why that's why they would have been upset. And personally, I thought it was all good. Like we need characters for the game. And like I hate to make this about the Penrith Panthers, but if you saw like Brian To'o and Stephen Crichton's Jerome Luai's interview, like we can have characters like that. But yeah, all of this is just saying nothing really. It's just that, like, I thought, in one sense, I'm like, people need to harden up, like, fuck it now. Are we really this, like, upset about a joke? But then on the other hand, I understand where it's coming from. So, like, that is fence sitting at its best. That's me sitting on the fence. But yeah, I wish people would. You can't. No, I don't know. I don't know. You can't ask. You can't ask people for characters and then slap their hands when they're being characters. But at the same time, yeah, I'm still not sure. So yeah.
When you talk about characters, you
Yeah,
look
I
at the way.
suppose if you
No, you go, Stacey. You go.
yeah, no, I suppose like if you were to interview Toby Rudolf again this weekend, what's he going to say now after being slapped on the wrist? Like you said, Tama, he's going to say, "Oh, full credit to the opposition. We look forward to next week." All the generic stuff now, and it's sort of like you said. That's what I don't like about it. Is you're just going to get more and more vanilla answers from these guys, which that doesn't serve anyone either, and doesn't attract new fans to the games or anything like that. So yeah, it's there's no easy answer, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing is, it's like a generational thing. Because if you look at the question
It
that
is. Yeah, I agree with that.
Brian Fletcher was leading, he pretty much led him into it because he's like, "You're an old-fashioned player. What are you gonna do after the game?" And you know exactly where he's aiming with that. Like what he's trying to get. He knew exactly what he was trying to get out of him, and he got it. Because he's encouraging him to be a character. But that's like, the old school, like drink, have a mean game, and then down, ultra beers, and then that's like a '90s, 2000s thing, and then now they're kind of more like, and I hate to make this about the Panthers again, but like, they're more like, if you watch Brian Toto and Jerome Loy, and that they're like millennials, they go and do different stuff, like yeah, like they're more like NBA players, If you see how that goes, but yeah, this is what it is. This is what it is.
Yeah, like one thing we talk about characters, and if you look at the after the Melbourne Storm final last year, Munster and Hectic Cheese, they were the big. Everyone was celebrating how they were going on these big benders, and no one really talked about that kind of stuff. So it was kind of out of. I thought just a response towards Toby Rudolph was. I thought might have been a bit overboard, but you can understand. Touching on what Thomas said, the NRL do have a image problem when it comes to treatment of women. So I guess they would have to try and because there's been so many controversies when it comes to treatment of women, and there's videos all over the internet, and bringing up what just happened a couple of days ago with the Jared Hayne and with that court case. The NRL, I guess, they've been ever since the the Coffs Harbour Bulldogs thing. They just haven't managed to, you know, they're always going to be perceived as the way that they treat women isn't acceptable. So I can understand that bit as well. No, I sound like Thomas sitting on the fence with that stuff because we are old school. And that is our mentality. Is that one of after you have you're used to the leagueies. They have a mean game. They go have a few beers. They go out of town, that kind of thing. And now that, and to touch on what Thomas said about the way that these guys behave now, these kind of new age people, I guess they're getting if they have all these clinics and those classes, and how to there's media lessons on how to act, and when you're on TV and that. So I guess that's why you hear the 10 to 15 standard cliched answers. I think rugby. I'm going to be honest. Rugby is probably the most guilty of that. They've got really. If you see the post-match interviews, they're the most cliched interviews out there. So
Yep,
They
that's what,
practice their
agree.
scripts, eh?
Yeah,
Their scripts,
and
man,
because it's funny when they come up, the answers. Like you could probably write it out word for word, verbatim what they're gonna say, and I hope this doesn't scare people. I guess there's ways of being a character. I just hope it doesn't scare people off by truly showing their, revealing a bit of themselves. But I guess there's probably one topic that they're not gonna laugh about or joke about is trying to pull girls after on the drink.
Hmm. Yeah, good point.
But yeah, my question is, if it was like, for example, Matty Johns and his cast of Brian Fletcher and Finch and that, if they were to joke around, would they have been targeted the way this guy was targeted last week?
I think they it really depends on their employers. So Toby Rudolf is held to that standard. He was held to it by the NRL, and it really just depends on Fox. And I think context is an important thing too. Like if Matty Johns and that make it their show is like he kind of has a lot more leeway. So if Matty Johns, and all those guys make those kind of jokes, their show is kind of built on that blokey stuff, and so maybe he would get away with it. But the context of it is that Toby Rudolph says it as on the NRL broadcasts in this day and age at this exact time, and so he copped it because of that, I reckon. And I think like that's why I'm hesitant to like shit on players because like players now they got it so tough. Like everything they do is kind of like policed, so they can't even like scratch their bum sometimes without someone commenting on it. And so Toby Rudolph was probably hearing it from the NRL, but then he has to hear it from all these other people too. Everyone else has their 5 cents. So I think like he's copying it the worst. All these players cop it the worst, and that's why I kind of like I took a lot of caca, but I think shit on these players because they got tough.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think Matty Johns would have got the same kind of heat. You know, it's a context thing. He have? Should he have? Probably. Probably be held to the same standard, but yeah, I don't believe he would have got the same kind of blowback.
What about you, Stace?
Yeah. I get where Thomas is coming from as well. So the players they copying it worse. The times have changed, so it is a bit different. I'm still more leaning towards I understood that was a joke, so I'm not offended. Like you said, he did say at the end, I'm just joking about recovery. So he said it as a joke. I took it as a joke, and I was happy to move on from there, as opposed to sort of everyone jumping up and down about it. But yeah, that was my side was more around the just removing the characters out of the game is happening more and more now. So yeah, I guess there's legitimate arguments on both sides. So I don't know. I suppose Toby Rudolph will learn a valuable lesson out of all of this anyway. You won't do that again. Hmm.
No. Another topic that came out, and it's funny because Melbourne Storm always seem to the first couple of rounds like to unveil different kind of grappling and wrestling
Chicken wings.
techniques. And they brought in the chicken wing, the holding down of players, and the on Thursday, Kaufusi was cited, and a lot of controversy came out of a tickle that he made. Is it like this one a bit overblown, or is there some truth to? Is this another way of Melbourne Storm trying to cheat the system? You know what I always say: if you're not cheating, you're not trying. But they seem to try and always find a way to try and one up everyone else in the comp. So, Tama, what about you? What do you think about the Kaufusi backslam, nice Rock's elbow into the chin there?
Yeah, so the guy who was really going in on him was James Hooper, the Baldy dude.
Oh,
And he came out and he was like, this is a real jiu-jitsu hold made by the Gracies. This is a jiu-jitsu move, the Storm. They're practicing jiu-jitsu and this is illegal. It was more of like, it's a wrestling thing. And I don't think that it was intentional that he was trying to slam his forearm into it. But you can like I watch a lot. I'm like a UFC fan, and like that exact same slam, how he got knocked out. This guy called Gerald Harris. So he's got like 5 or 6 slam KOs. He fought 3 times in the um, or he's got like 3 slam KOs in the UFC. Now he's got a slam KO where he slams the guy on his back, but his forearm is in the pretty much the exact same position that Kofusi's in, and so he done it on purpose, and like so I can see why people would think that. So for me, I think it was more of like he was trying to wrestle the ball, and then like just the way that they ended up, it happened like that. But then there's like the causes that he's wrestling so much. So it is kind of his fault. But it wasn't some kind of jujitsu kimura, flying leg lock, something like that. It was more of like I think they were just wrestling, and the way that they ended up, it looked really bad. But I don't think it was intentional. That's my take on Kofusi. I think he just wrestled, and the way that they landed ended up like that. But did he deserve to be suspended? Yeah. He should have been sent off. He got sent off? No?
No, I think it was just cited today.
Yeah, well, he should have been sent off. Like, he kind of, yeah. Maybe he could have moved. I don't know. But yeah.
Sammy?
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional to the face. I don't think he was like looking at the tackle. He wasn't. I don't. Yeah, I think yeah, I think he did purposely put force into that elbow, and just to slam him down. Hopefully, you'll lose control of the ball. But I don't think he was meant to hit him around the face. Or I don't think he thought his elbow was around where the face was. Him probably looking back at the tape, he'll probably feel like he should have been, you know, um, missed a couple of rounds. I think he should have missed a couple of rounds. I think he got away free, did he?
Oh,
Nah, he's suspended.
yeah,
Yeah,
he was
he got a
suspended.
Oh, he
suspension.
is. Yeah,
2
yeah.
2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
What about you, Stace?
Yeah, I'm sort of with the boys. Like, there's a lot of wrestlings. All the teams wrestle, so that's just part of the modern game. And all the teams are sort of getting coached in wrestling as well. So to single out the Storm, which Tama alluded to with the James Hooper interview. I haven't seen that James Hooper interview, but I know that he's sort of an anti-Storm guy. I thought that was a bit. I thought that was a bit rich. One thing I will say is, like, what we know about concussions now, they need to be harsher on the penalty side of things. So I think, yeah, like, he got 2 weeks. He didn't get sent off or any of that stuff. But like, if you look at what happened in the NFL before the concussions and the lawsuits that they faced from there, I mean, one of the things that came out of that was they asked the NFL, hey, what did you do to protect the players, and what did you do to sort of change the rules as part of the legal defense? And they didn't really do anything. And if I look at the NRL, like, what are they really doing to stop these concussions and all the rest of it? He didn't get sent off, which he should have been. He got a couple of weeks. I know Jesse Ramian, the Cronulla Sharks guy, he clotheslined someone from the Dragons.
The back of the
Yeah, in the back of the head. You know the one I'm talking about, Tama. I think that was in round one, and I think he should have got red carded for that. So I think the NRL just needs to do more, have harsher sanctions on these players, and that will help to get it out of the game. If these guys are getting 5 weeks, 6 weeks suspensions and getting red carded for the contact with the head, I think that players will take a bit more responsibility, and that will help to get it out of the game, and it would also help protect the NRL if they're sort of getting legal issues from people who have ongoing effects of concussion. They can say, hey, look, we tried, put in real strong sanctions, and we did our bit to try to stop it, get it out of our game. But as it stands now, I mean, it happens every week, and players aren't getting punished enough for them to change their tactics and their techniques. So I think that's where the NRL has to step in and do more.
Nice. Okay, next topic, and it's a feel good topic. Yesterday, ADDIN FONUA-BLAKE and MURDOCH-MASILA. They done a pretty good deed there. It's cool. The cool thing is that the Warriors now have a base over there. Like the people, the towns that they stay in, especially last year. Now this year, the locals love them. There's a love affair with the Warriors, so they're slowly building up this base of another base of fans over there, which is cool. Besides expats, now they've got these towns that they're going to stay in. They follow them hard out. Now they had a really good story that Phil Gould shared on Twitter. Stacey, you want to touch on that one?
Yeah, I just caught a bit of the story. So, there was an old lady in her car, and I think she got a flat tire. Is that correct?
Yeah.
She was it was pouring down with rain, and then
Well, we
they
know
they
what's
stopped
happening.
what they were doing. Yeah, they stopped what they were doing, and they helped this lady out. And a passerby sort of saw it, and he wrote to the Warriors HQ saying, "Hey, look, if these guys are late to training or whatever, these guys are doing great things in the community, trying to help out these old ladies." So it was a really good story and a real good feel story for the Warriors. And as a fan, I was really happy about that as well.
Yeah, Gus put it up there, and Gus, he loves a good story. The
Yep.
great Gus Gould, and so I thought that was awesome. Like, it's just kind of like a poly thing to do.
Yeah.
It looks good for
Mm,
them. It's good for the Warriors, and I think the Warriors are just good dudes in general.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
win all around, I reckon.
Well, I think there's two. Like you've already kind of alluded to it, Stacey. How and you, Sam, how good they've been for the team. For the Warriors as a team on the
mm,
field, but doing stuff like this kind of shows. Maybe they're buying into the culture or bringing something different to the Warriors culture.
Yep. Yeah.
Well,
I know the All Blacks. Oh, it's okay on Timmy.
no, I just think it's great to hear positive things about NRL players in general. Things that they do in public. And they don't do things for the camera, and they don't do things just to be, hopefully I'll get on the paper, I'll get on the news for doing something good. I just think, especially for our poly players, I think it's just the way we are. It's just the way they've been taught to raise and raised by, especially looking after their mothers. And I think it just really showed. Driving along the side of the road, they stopped it and they helped. And I think it's a good thing for the Warriors as well. Living in a town away from home.
Good thing for league too. These feel good stories, and good thing for the Warriors. Like, that's what an example to set for their kids,
Mm.
and more importantly, what example to set for their supporters. Because the Warriors, while being a great club, some of their supporters are
Mate, I don't know who
bad.
you've been hanging out with, Tama, but you've been hanging out with the Wild Warriors supporters, mate.
I've told the story before, and I'll tell it again. I'm at the game,
I
you
heard
know,
your story. I listened to that podcast.
lining up the pick, and this lady calls me every name under the sun in front of her two kids wearing a Warriors jersey with her three teeth, and I just said, "Well, this is absolutely disgusting." And the rest of the
Oh,
language that I heard from there was oh, whoa, Sammy, it sounds like you've had a similar experience. Share with the group, why don't you?
I do have at Mount Smart Stadium. Well,
Oh, wow.
supporting the Bunnies with my family, and had all four kids, and here I am jumping around with my four kids and yelling out, "What's the score? What's the score?" And good old rubbish getting chucked at you from behind. Turn around, it's only Warriors fans. But hey, that
Oh,
was a
wow.
while
See,
ago.
well, there we go.
I think it's just that same lady for both of you, but all the rest of the Warrior fans are all good. It's just that one lady who got both of you at once.
With the free tea.
The same.
Yeah, no, I've had similar stories, and I think Simon Amani. I think he can vouch. He's got a few stories of being a Brisbane Broncos fan and being abused by the fans over there. But I haven't been to any other games overseas. I've been to a Roosters Warriors game, so over in Sydney. So I've heard some of the banter there. So we can't really point any fingers until we go down to
Yeah.
Penrith and see what
Yeah, good point. That's a good,
to.
very important point.
Hey, just going on that the feel good story there.
Yeah,
I saw something that was pretty awesome, mate. Like a lot of the Bunnies fans there really they've been raving on about Muddy Tapau. Oh, sorry, Tapau.
yeah,
They've been raving on about his act of kindness,
yes,
or sort of respect on the field, But I think it was Moses Sully.
Yeah.
I think after the Bunnies, I think we scored a try, and then Moses Sully went and shoved Benji Marshall at the back of the head. And as soon as he shoved him in the head, Tapau just grabbed his head and shoved it to the side, like kind of like, "Hey, what are you doing there? Have some respect for the elders," you know.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of respect for Marty for what he did. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up, but yeah, that was that's the island thing. Yeah, you got to respect your elders, and Benji, if there's anyone who's an elder at the moment, it's got to be 36-year-old Benji Marshall. He's probably been in the league close to 20 years now, and besides the 1 year that he came and played for the sorry, that's laughter. But yeah, and no, I think he'd dropped the ball or he'd done something, so they were lining up for a scrum. And he basically came, you know how you get that little niggle like, yeah, shame, bro. And he came, and the way he grabbed the mate like, hey, you know your role, man. This guy he's a World Cup winning, captain, and and he's been around so long, and he deserves a bit more respect in that. So I thought that was pretty cool of Marty showing what respect is.
Is this Benji's last year? Are they giving him the Kirby farewell tour?
Shucks.
We mean he's up there. You wouldn't like in terms of players who've impacted the game. Who's impacted it more than Benji?
I honestly think if the Bunnies do win the premiership, I think it will be. I don't think he'll want to come back, and not win it next year. I think if he strongly believes this is the year for the Bunnies, and if they do end up winning it, I think he will sign off at the end of this year.
I know he's got a good relationship with Wayne Bennett as well. So
Yeah.
so that played into it.
Yeah.
And if Wayne Bennett's not back, then he might not be back either. The new coach might be like, we get some young guys in.
Yeah, well, I reckon like while he's still here, they should give him the send off like the Kobe. Give him his flowers while he's still playing, because like Benji Marshall pretty much changed how the NRL is. Like we'd all seen all the Māoris doing all those jumping side steps, but he's the one that came into the NRL and started, Fiki Vale everywhere around the field. Like when everybody was doing those, massive jump, hop, and then sidestep. What were we calling it? Benji Marshall doing the Benji and then flicking it out the back. Everyone was trying to be Benji. I don't think for the current crop of players, anybody has had as much of an impact as Benji Marshall. Like everybody does that step now. Even like the Parangis are jumping up like the Kazis from up north, and this is all Benji's impact on the game as a 16-year-old guy with sideburns, and then he came in and
Really.
curly
And the highlights
with the jowl in his hair.
Yeah.
But I really do hope. Like I said, are they giving him the Kobe? I really hope they do give him his flowers while he's still there, because the man is like. I should be a Benji hater if I'm being honest, but as he's gotten older and then like possibly post Blues stint, he's really like you really appreciate how much he changed the game. And I hope all the teams realize, that all their young guns, they're jumping around like that because of Benji, the way he changed the game, the way Steph, like, changed the NBA and made it all about threes. He kind of did the same for attacking rugby, like steps. They've seen like that since Benji. So, that's my, from the feel good of Mighty Tapau sorting out the young fella. I hope like Benji gets his flowers while he's with South, and that they give him a good send off.
What about you, Stacey? You want to follow up on that? Because just thinking about it now, there's a really valid point, because if his imprint on the game, from the behind the back passes, there's always the famous one in the 2005 grand final, but there's also that one where he gave to Blake Ashford, and all these other, the ones against us. So, what about where does he sit, and what's his influence on the game?
Yeah, he's up there. He's up there in terms of influence for sure. It's hard to sort of quantify how important he's been to the game. He's one of the best players to come out of New Zealand, that's for sure. So I would like for him to get that proper send off, but I'm not sure if he will. If I think of the guys who have retired recently, maybe that who weren't quite as influential, but who are all-time greats, like Cronk and Thurston, and that they probably didn't get that send off. So I don't know if Benji will get it, which is unfortunate because I do think that they should celebrate the players a bit more. But yeah, he's up there for sure.
What about you, Sammy? Before we go on to our next topic.
Yeah, I know. Like in his final game, he'll definitely get a massive haka from all his fans and his family out in the crowd, and just the way Kiwis do it. They when the cameras are not watching and they just move away, the family will definitely step in. And I think that's the great thing that us as Kiwis we do is we just get in there as a family and not wait on anyone else, but send him off on his own, like through the way we know best, and that's through family first, I guess.
I think one thing the NRL would benefit from, like, is buying into these narratives the way the
Yeah.
NBA does in terms of marketing.
Yeah.
Like when they
Hard out.
saw that Dwayne Wade and Dirk Nowitzki was kind of wrapping up their careers, even though they didn't announce it, they chucked them both in the All-Star game, and there's little things like that where you acknowledge greatness while it's still there, like that. I think the NRL should do, and especially with Benji. Like his impact isn't like we'll never say he's the goat. Like that's we know who that is. Like Andrew Johns and some
Cameron
people say
Smith,
Cameron
yo.
Smith, hairy chest guy. Like but people
With the ugly
yeah,
statue
yeah.
outside.
Cameron
Okay, we get it, man. We
Yeah,
get it.
yeah.
You don't like Cameron Smith,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah.
But his impact isn't that. It's like the way, like I said, the way Steph changed it, the way AI changed the game, like, and I reckon the NRL will do well. If anyone from the NRL is listening, buy into that narrative, push these stories. Like these are the kind of stories you want to push, not getting Angus at Toby Rudolf for half decent joke.
I think that's a cool. That is a really awesome idea because remember, like when on that farewell tour, he'd go to every team. He'd go to the star player, or he'd go to someone that he had a connection with, either Dwayne Wade or Kobe or Dirk, and they'll do the jersey swap. That's kind of like a sign of him. Yeah, I am moving on. You can take this jersey because this will probably be the last, jersey that I'll be wearing as a professional player. And that
Yeah,
the NRL used to do that. They used to do that kind of stuff. It's kind of fallen off for some reason. What do you think that is? Or what other kind of ideas like that could they touch on?
gotta get the old Matty John show. That's why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like comes back to like, it'd be cool to get their names on their jerseys too. But like,
Oh yeah. True
I
that.
don't know. I don't know. Like swapping jerseys and that just it kind of fell away, because not a league thing, Plus the jerseys are ultra tight.
It seems to be the boots. Seems to be the boots with
Yeah,
the signature on it, or their names on it.
yeah. So I think that's their thing. I think if they had their names on their jerseys, then they would see a bit more of that. But yeah,
Sammy?
Yeah. No, I agree with everyone else.
Yeah. Stacey, want to add anything else before we move on?
No, I think Thomas hit the nail on the head there. So yeah, I agree with what he had to say. For sure.
Okay, just a quick fire round. Over the last two rounds, who, according to you, is leading the Daily M Player of the Year? I know it's only 2 weeks, but I mean, we're keeping tab of these things, so by the end of the year, we know who was calling it from the start. Stace, for you, who's really stood out, or who really has put their hand up to say, yeah, this is my year?
Yeah, I called Latrell Mitchell at the start, but might be stealing Tama's thunder here, but a guy who I've been really impressed with so far has been James Fisher-Harris from the Panthers.
Great
So I'm
player.
just quickly looking at some of his stats here. So he's got the most running meters and the most post-contact meters for any forward in the NRL. He's got the most runs and the second most decoys runs in the NRL. He's also got 57 tackles and only one missed. So he's doing it on both sides of the ball and no errors committed. So he's really accurate in what he's trying to do. I thought, he really announced himself in that sort of real upper echelon of forwards last year. He was named in the Dalium Team of the Year last year. But he only just turned 25 a few months ago. So he'll be hitting, his peak years over the next sort of 2 or 3 seasons. And yeah, if he can carry on this upward trajectory and get a bit of luck with injuries, mate, I think he'll become the best forward in the game over the next couple of years. So James Fisher-Harris to me.
If we're going like the way the Daliums are scored, obviously it's whatever Morrison got back-to-back hat tricks because that's how they score. But if I'm going for like a non-Penrith Panthers player, because we could pick any of them. But if I were going for a non-Penrith for Dalium, I wouldn't pick any of them to be honest. I'll just pick a Panther. But if I had to say who has been my favorite, who's been like really good and the best player in the league or like underrated or whatever, like the most impact, I really liked Isaiah Papali'i. The first 2 rounds. Oh man, he has been amazing to watch. Like the first game, especially against the Broncos, the man plays like he's got 4 lungs. Like he just doesn't stop. His motor just keeps on going, and like if it's really noticeable how much of an engine he is. The dude just big hits, moves, keeps moving, constant motion. I really like not for Deli M, but like probably the best player or biggest impact. Like Isaiah Papali, he's been like for me the star of the first 2 rounds out of like by watching the Eels. I thought he was he's been amazing. Like I said, he plays like he's got 4 lungs because the guy just doesn't stop, man. And takes hard TAs, hit ups, the kind of forwards that you like to see. And maybe the Warriors couldn't afford him or what, but I think if we're talking about buy of the season or like player of the season or whatever we're saying, I think Papali's like he's star of the first, well, my star of the first 2 rounds, other than anyone 1 to 17 of the Penrith Panthers.
Sammy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
say sorry.
yeah. So I know when we did our preview show, I know Sammy and Royston both talked up Papali'i, but as a Warriors fan, I didn't see it. So luckily I didn't jump in and just rubbish him because when he was at the Warriors, he only had half a lung when he was playing for us. So it's good to see him really stepping up. And Tama, yeah, in terms of value for money buys, because he won't be on big money over there with the Eels. So yeah, I think at the end of the season you might say, "Holy crap, we got this guy on the cheap," and he turned out to be a real elite forward. So I just wanted to give Sammy and Royston, who's not here today, a shout out for, it's always good when you took a player up, and then 2 rounds later when you come back, he's one of the stand-up players. So good on you guys for identifying that.
Thanks.
Sammy?
No, I'm with Tom on that one. Like, I think, yeah, like I heard one of the commentators was saying this is probably the buy of the season. Like they've made a really good
Oh, yeah.
buy in Isaiah Papali'i, and I think it's man, a massive loss for the Warriors. Like maybe moving out away from, oh no, I shouldn't say that because the Warriors are not even home, but probably feeling that unwanted feeling, from the Warriors again drafted off, getting bought by another club has probably woken them up, sort of a wake up call to, man, you better step up if you want to keep a job or get a job. You got to really do your part on the field and just train hard. But I think my go-to guy would be Tedesco. There's only been a couple of games and he's 5 tries, maybe easy tries, but he's in the right place at the right time, and he's been really busy. He's been quite active, and man, even for this weekend coming, man, it's I think Tedesco's yeah. He's my call for that one.
Nice. Anyone else got anything they wanna? Any other players? Any dark horses that they've seen might get a run in towards the end? Tama?
Well, obviously.
No one that's from Penrith between 1 and
okay.
17, please. Anyone else outside of the Panthers?
Yeah.
Any more TikTok dances from Cleary?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, no off-season dramas for us this year. Well, if I had to, yeah. Other than Papali, I mean, standouts from the early rounds, obviously the Roosters, the only other undefeated team, Tedesco, of course. And I think, Tedesco, I mean, it's hard to go past him. Um, but yeah, probably him.
Stace?
Yeah, I think the boys hit the main ones. I think Tama briefly said Brett Morris. So he scored back-to-back hat-tricks, which is the first time that's ever happened in 100-odd years of rugby league in the first opening 2 weeks, opening 2 rounds. So I'm not sure. I'll have to check, but I think he could be the official Dalium leader at this point. I know, like, we're just talking about the guys that we like the most, but yeah, he's been outstanding. And at 34 years old, he's on minimal money, compared to some of the other outside backs going around. But, we talked about, what Marty Tapau and, Ben Murdoch-MASILA, how great they are off the field and what they're doing. It sets a really good example. But you imagine how good those guys are, those Morris twins. They're very professional in everything they do, and they'll be teaching all those young guys, and they do those little 1%ers really well, which is how come they're so successful this late in their career. So Brett Morris is a guy who's deserves a shout.
Oh yeah, and the Bonua, the second row for Roosters, he has been amazing as well.
So the one from Marist, eh?
Yeah.
He's, he doesn't, his body type, it's not the typical second row because he looks quite
Lanky.
wiry, lanky.
Yeah.
But man, that guy, when he runs, man, he's got heart.
Like Cameron Murray.
Yes, Cameron Murray's. Okay, then, boys, moving on. We're going to wrap it up soon, but we're going to have a quick look over the games coming up this weekend. We've got a game tomorrow. It's the grand final rematch. I think it's pretty obvious what team Tama will be picking. So I'll go to him last, but we got the Panthers and the Storm. Sammy, who's your pick for this one? Only so I can go make these bets and try and win me some money.
I'm going Storm. I'm going Storm for this one.
Well, they've got, so Storm have Pappenhausen, he's missing. Penrith also have Cleary out. So that kind of, yes, the Kaufusi's out. So that kind of evens up. This is a bit tighter than people are giving it for. As dismissive as some of that idea. Stacey, who have you got winning this one?
Yeah, I was going for the Storm initially because I knew Cleary was out, but then, like you mentioned, Pappenhausen's out for the Storm. That sort of evens it up. That's two very critical guys on both teams. So I think it's going to come down to how good the replacements are. And I agree with Tama's initial assessment that Burton is a gun. So I think they can recover better from the loss, and I think of a great player. So I'll go for the Panthers in a close one.
Two key players out there.
Yeah.
Boring game.
Tama, by how much?
Well, okay. If we look at this grand final rematch, my prediction for this is a one-sided beatdown. Jerome Blue Eyes swinging the hammer. Panthers by 20 plus. If you're a betting man, put the money on. We're giving them the pump. Like when I look at them, I look at this team and I think, wow, Cleary's out. Oh, we're going to be stuffed. Boom. Matty Breton, who the Bulldogs are desperate for.
We've already signed him, bro.
Yeah, they're desperate to get him out. Why are they so desperate? Because he's a gun. And it's like you cut off our arm and we grew another strong arm as well. It's like the Hydra. Cut off a head and 100 more grow, and you can't beat it. So, like I said, a one-sided beatdown. The Panthers are swinging the hammer. Get ready for a lot of
Sounds like it's swimming like water.
Yeah, one thing I just wanted to add is when Parramatta beat the Storm over the weekend, they really targeted the was it the right edge of the Storm, which is Remus Smith and George Jennings, who look a bit fragile defensively. They're new playing together, so it's going to take a while. But they'll be up against that left side of the Panthers, which is Luai, Crichton, and Kikau, who could potentially kill them. So
And To'o.
And so, yes.
and To'o. Yeah, that's a pretty ruthless side. So that might be where they win it.
Great
Sort of
analysis.
stats are looking good, eh?
Yeah.
I think the other thing about that Edge of the Storm is the weather. That was like I said, that's like a great equalizer. Because I'll be honest, I'd rate the Eels, and I thought the Storm should have won that game, but for
Yeah, me too.
the rain. If it was a dry track, I see Cheese. He's going all over them. I love Cheese out of all the Storm. He's my favorite Storm player ever, and. He took over the other guy that was there before. So
The goat.
it was goat. Oh, sure. Well, that's another discussion
Goat
for
cheese.
another day. But yeah,
Well, you can call him goat cheese now. Anyways, next game. Friday. The first game coming up on Friday is the Dragons and the Seagulls. These two teams have failed to impress this year, especially Seagulls, who are 0-2. I mean, adding that up for my mate Henry Nicholas and Cameron Schuster, long-suffering Seagulls fans. Boys, who's winning this clash at the bottom of the table?
yeah. When I see this match, it's like have you watched WWF? Before the main event, this is the one where they get the midgets. Where's the women's champion?
It's called a popcorn match.
Yeah, but this is the one where they get it's not Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. It's Virgil and the Red Roosters. So I'll be honest, I didn't really care who wins this match. But if I had to pick one, I would say the Eagles by 1-12 because Cherry Evans is good. They got Schuster, he's pretty gun, and the Dragons they're alright. They're cool. But yeah, I picked the Eagles 1-12.
Sammy?
Oh man, I like Manly. I think, but I honestly think the Dragons are going to come up this weekend.
Ooh, I don't remember that.
Don't quote me. I got a lot wrong last time.
Yeah, every team sort of has a bogey team, and the Seagulls, they really struggle against the Dragons. So the Dragons have won 5 of the last 6 times they played, and the Seagulls haven't won at Wollongong since 2003. So long time between drinks. But I thought Ben Hunt, who's been under a lot of pressure, he played his best game in a long time last week, so he'll be going in form. So I'll get the Dragons. I'm with Sammy on that one.
Nice. Following that game is this is the marquee match. I'm probably looking at the match of the round. It's the mighty Rabbitohs up against Bondi, the boys from Bondi, the Sydney Roosters. Tama, who are you picking for this one?
I will have to go with the Rabbitohs.
Point spread? Because I'm gonna go put these.
What is it?
down.
1-12? It's a close one. It's a close one. 1-12 because I think this is a really important game for the Rabbitohs. Before the season started, a lot of people picked them to win the premiership. But a lot of people believe Elvis is still alive as well.
Oh shit!
Nah, but
There's a lot of UFC sightings as well. But do we believe this?
yeah. But this is a game to see if they're contenders or pretenders. But
Yeah.
like I said, I like the way the Rabbitohs look. They look like they'll keep it within 10 against the Panthers. And I think they'll get home against the Roosters. They just look like they've already had some good tests, and they'll be the first test for the for the Roosters. So I'm picking Rabbitohs 1-12.
Stacey, I'm going to leave Sam for last because I know he's going to go on because I want him to tell us how he really feels. Stace, who have you got?
Yeah. Yeah, I was one of those guys who picked the Rabbitohs to win the competition, but for this game, I think the Roosters might be a bit too strong. I know Mansour, he's back, so he had a shocker in that opening game. He's a good winger, so he'll come back with a point to prove, but it could be hard for him to get some confidence. I think he's up against Daniel Tupou. But the Roosters getting Victor Radley back and Angus Crichton back this week. So those two inclusions sort of tip it towards the Roosters for me. So Roosters by 6.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sammy, your boys, are they contenders or pretenders?
This is the one game that we really we look forward to every year, whether it's the first round, last round, in the middle of the season. We just love playing the Roosters because we hate them that much. But I'm going to go for the Roosters this week. I think they're going to take it this weekend.
Nice.
Only because Mansell's in, because we got an injury on the wing, and I think I know Mansell was good for the Panthers, but I think I don't know, the way Adokar ran around him made him look like a little boy.
Yep.
I just think there's a bit of
It's a very. It must have been hard.
man.
I feel like reverse
I think the Roosters by 12.
Ooh.
I just think the Rabbitohs will go hard. Man, my heart goes out to them, but they will peak, but just not now. I think the boys know. I think it's towards mid-year, towards the end, they'll start peaking at the right time. But I don't think they'll peak now. Yeah.
Oh,
I think the
man.
Roosters are. The last 2 weeks, the Roosters have been on, and I think they're just going to continue this week.
Nice.
It's so sad. I can't believe
Hit the pain in that one.
So the curtain raiser on Saturday is the before the big match. New Zealand Warriors. This is New Zealand Warriors coming up against Kololo's Canberra Raiders. Sammy, where do you see this game going?
Raiders. I think Raiders. I think different halves in there this weekend for the Warriors. I think it might be a bit of a tough one for them. Trying out new combinations, but I think the Raiders, they're just gonna continue the way they have been.
Tama?
I think a bit of an upset. I picked the Warriors. I think, like I said, I really like the way the Warriors look. I didn't like the way the Raiders kind of looked against the Sharks. And if Chad Townsend makes these kicks, they win the game, and the Raiders are 1-1. So I like I like the way the Warriors look this year. I think it's because they're away from their fans or whatever. Like they look really good this year, and I would back them to make a nice upset. Maybe this could be a smoky upset if you're betting.
Oh, nice. So this is the one.
Yeah, I would say
check that.
Warriors, and I would say the score will be 20-14 to the Warriors.
Ooh,
Oh, nice.
nice. Stacey.
Yeah, I hope Tama's prediction is right, but I'm actually inspired by Sammy. He wasn't really biased and just picked his team regardless. So I might have to take a leaf out of that book. When we did our preview, no one really said much about the Raiders being a top 4 team. But what I've seen so far, I've been really impressed. They've been one of the better teams that I've seen. What's that hooker is back, which we talked about. I can't remember his name. Yeah, Hodgson. He's back, and he's made a big difference. And the bench that they've got there with Sears there, and they got Ryan James. He's been really good, so they're not losing much off the bench. And Hudson Young as well, I'll give him a shout out. He's been bloody good. The Warriors, they got that new 7, Sean O'Sullivan, so it's going to be a bit of a tough ask. So I'll pick the Raiders by 8 in that one.
Man, I like this non-biased, this real Real talk.
I just changed my answer after listening to Sam's one. I was going to pick Warriors every week for the rest of the year, but no, I've got to be honest.
You don't buy when your team's kaya.
Oh, mate.
The other match of the round, got the mighty Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs playing the bottom of the table Brisbane Broncos. 7:30. Boys, starting with you, Tama. By how much will the Bulldogs win?
Well, my prediction for this game is 40 and 50. 40 heading errors, 50 mistakes. The Bulldogs.
Man,
We're paying for this. I'll be honest. This
match of the round.
Yeah, well,
I'm excited. I'm
this is
so
like
excited. Fireworks, man.
I would have to say, based on what I've seen, the Bulldogs, and it's either gonna be the Bulldogs by like 20 or 30, or the Bulldogs by 4 or something like that. And that's just based on if you watch the Bulldogs in the first 2 rounds, like you can see Trent Barrett's effect already on the way that they attack, some of their patterns and some of the blocks they run, like if you know, or whatever they called. But some of these movements just look like eerily similar to a team that went on like a 20-game win streak last year. So if you look, he's brought some of those like some of the attacking flair to the Bulldogs. It's like watching Penrith attack from last year, just with significantly worse players or not as good players. Not as drilled in the system. Maybe when they keep playing, they'll be like that. But I picked the Bulldogs to win this either by 4 or like 40, because with the Broncos, yeah, it's like rocks or diamonds with these guys.
Mm.
But yeah, I picked the Bulldogs.
Sammy, Bulldogs by how much?
Bulldogs, I actually picked the Broncos for this one. Man, because I honestly thought that the Broncos played really well against the Eels in their first game. And then, to play against their sister team, the Titans, I just thought the Titans always have to prove a point when it comes to playing the Broncos. Because that's like, Brisbane being the big city compared to the Gold Coast. I always think the Titans always have to show up, and having their new signing there from the Broncos, it's like we gotta, But I just think this week Broncos are gonna come up by 2. It's gonna be close.
Mm.
2-0.
Stacey.
Yeah, like you have these great matchups like Panthers and Storm and the Rabbitohs and Roosters, and when you have all the top teams playing against each other, you also, the flip side is you get these Gaia teams, Gaia matchups at the bottom playing against each other. But yeah, the Broncos, they've lost 13 straight, which, that would be unthinkable when you consider those great Broncos sides of the 90s and the 2000s. But they've got Payne Haas, who was probably one of their best forwards last year. He's back from suspension. And I know Raymond Faitala-Marin is out for the Dogs. He's out long term too, I think. So those key differences make a big difference to me. So I think the Broncos will snap their losing streak and win by 4.
Oh, okay then. So following that game, we have Eels and Sharks. Boys, who we got? I'll start with you, Stace.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard one. They lost Ryan Matterson to concussion, which we talked about earlier. But I think that means Papali'i's going to come in, and we talked about him as well as being one of the outstanding buys. And the Sharks haven't been in a top 8 team since 2019, basically. So they're not going to do it this week against the Eels. So Eels to win by 10.
Sammy?
Yeah. Eels, definitely Eels. The way they played last week, I can't say no to them. I think Eels. But he's going to be. I don't think he's going to have a great game like he has been off the bench. I think he's going to have just a Warriors style of the way he was at the Warriors. But definitely definitely Eels. But I do hope Isaiah does well.
I'm picking the Eels too by 10. I think the score will be 22-10, 12. And I think that Isaiah Papali'i is for long. Isaiah is gonna keep on keeping on. I'm on all aboard the Isaiah Papali'i hype train. I
Man of the match.
believe. Yep, I think he's gonna push for a Dally M team of the year spot. That is my bold prediction.
Oh,
All
nice.
aboard the Isaiah Papali'i for long hype train. Me, I'm the conductor.
Okay. There's only 2 more games after that. This is going to be an interesting game. West Tigers they've dropped Joey Leilua for this game, and I don't know if anyone would be surprised by that. But so Knights and West Tigers, the first game on Sunday afternoon. We'll probably be having a beer watching this game. Who are we picking for this game, Sam?
Knights, even though I wanted the Tigers, the Tigers are going to step up this year. I still think they're going to come back. I still think the Tigers, they got something. I reckon they got something. I'm just looking at the players that they have and the new signings. I think they're going to gel. They're going to gel and they're going to come out strong and surprise everybody.
Stace?
Yeah, that Tigers left edge that they've got there, their defence is just poor. So that's why Leilua got dropped. His defensive efforts and everything just hasn't been up to scratch. I think that they're going to carve them down that side. So it could be big problems for them. I think that the Knights will win it quite comfortably. So Knights by about 13.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm picking the Knights too. I think they'll be close, I guess. The Knights forwards are Clemma and Safiti, those two. And yeah, they dropped Joey Leilua. I'm a big Leilua fan.
Me too.
I reckon the game's better with people like Leilua, hearty players like that. That's what the game needs. Like every time somebody put a shot on his brother, that guy was out for blood. And that's you like that. You like to see that kind of heart in the game. Like I hate to bring this back to the Panthers, but when Watene Zelezniak flying clothesline Cleary, somebody should have been
That
in there,
wasn't
dropped them straight away. Like if that was
accidental.
Joey Leilua, he would have been in there hearty, 1v1. But I reckon the Knights will win. Sorry to make it about the Panthers, but I reckon the Knights will win, and I really want to see Joey Leilua back to the Tigers because
Yeah.
I'm actually a big Leilua fan, and I like him.
You
I
know-
reckon the game's better with him in it.
When Leilua's on, he's the man. Like, that combination he had with Jordan Rapana that kind of put him into that New South Wales talk, even though we knew he wasn't going to make the team. But he, when he's on, he's on. I guess it's just, there's I guess the role he plays is he's the enforcer. He tries to play that role, and sometimes it can be, there's a thin line between the enforcer and then, being the hothead or the guy that's going to cost your team a penalty or,
Oh, yeah. When he was at the Raiders, he came out and said that I'm the best center in the world, and you love to see it, bro. Like if he calls a shot and the man he believes it. If you gotta be your own, biggest supporter, you gotta believe in yourself. I sound like a total like Leilua homer, but I honestly really like the way Joey Leilua plays. Like maybe if he's on your team, he kind of like he's one of those players that Westbrook on NBA. Like other people, they hate him, but if he's on your team, you probably love him. And maybe sometimes he doesn't make the right decisions or defense, but yeah, I reckon I would like to see Lilo back.
Stacey, you're nodding your head there. Like yes, or,
No,
what is
no,
the
I'm not a fan of Leilua. I think he's always been rocks and diamonds, and that can happen within the same game. He'll do something amazing and something ridiculous within the same 80 minutes. But just at the moment, it's just more rocks than diamonds. He's missed 9 tackles, and he's had 6 ineffective tackles. Just pulling up his stats on the NRL website, so that's just too high for someone of his size. And if you look at that Roosters game, I think they scored like 7 tries down his edge. So he had to be dropped. There's no other way of getting out of it, And if you look at Maguire, like Madge, as a coach, when he was with South, They were like hard defensive team. When he coached Wigan, they were strong defensively, and he really preaches about second effort and all that sort of stuff, getting his team super fit. So what Leilua is doing with his half-hearted attempts, that's not in line with what Madge is about as a coach. So he had to drop him to keep those standards high. I think it's the right call to get rid of him. I think.
Yeah, it is what it is. It's done now. But bring back Leilua, and hopefully when he plays for the tour this year,
Yeah.
that we see Joey the Destroyer. And I will always believe in Leilua, and I'll die on that hill. And Leilua is a gun forever in my book.
Yeah,
Tamakalava,
like-
who's also the conductor of the Isaiah Papali'i 4 lung.
I'm on the same boat as you when it comes to Leilua. Like a focused Leilua, man. He's on, some of the passes, offloads he does. But I guess maybe hopefully this is a wake up call for him, and when he comes back, he starts firing because potentially like Sam was saying, that side when all the signings they've got and all those guys, if they can get on the same page, they could make a late run. Sorry, we're late run. We're only on to the second round, but yeah,
He's that something
I want to
that
keep
you're talking about thing.
I want to keep my stocks on the Joey Leilua Island for now. I'm not going to sell any stock yet. So yeah, last game of the round. My mate Longapaki's team, North Queensland Cowboys, up against the Gold Coast Titans. Well, I don't know what's up with North Queensland. Are they? Oh, it's funny because all the Queensland teams, all the teams up north, they're doing really bad. The Broncos and the Titans are all right, but I mean, it seems like the Titans are the best team out of those three, and I don't think in the last 10 years you'd even say that in a sentence. But North Queensland's really bad at the moment. Who's winning this? Who's winning this game? Danny?
Titans. I mean, Tomalolo. So Titans.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I will go the other way. Actually, I think the Cowboys will. I'm not. I think.
I hope you get a TAB and do all these.
Ash Taylor. Ash Taylor. Yeah, I was the Cowboys one out of there, but I think the Cowboys will win. They can just without there'll be a much better shot with Tomalolo there, but yeah, I think the Cowboys their defense is mean. Like the first game, obviously they had no chance in that because it was the Panthers, but they kept us pretty. They kept the Panthers in check for the first half. It's just the second half, of there's nothing you can do against the Panthers. And then the second showing, they weren't actually they they they're pretty good. Like I like the makeup of that team. I like Michael Morgan who's there, and the forwards are really really hearty, and they got one of Samoa great Josh Maguire there too. He's leading from the front. The forward pack is nothing to. I think the battle of the forwards is going to be in. You got McLean, Cohen Hess against Fotueka, Fifita, and Fasua Maleaui, Hawaii. So I'm gonna go for the Cowboys. Close one, 6.
Sammy?
Titans.
Oh, you really? Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you have
Titans.
stakes on the you buying some stock in the Gold Coast Titans for this game. Is there anything else, guys, you want to touch on before we close up? Sammy?
And I love my bunnies. Yeah. I can't. Yeah. If you're listening, don't get me wrong. I can't stand the Roosters. I don't like the Roosters, but I just can't see the bunnies beating them this weekend.
Tama?
Yeah, I guess this is the first stop of the four-lung Isaiah Papali'i hype train. Hop on board, he's going all the way, training Team of the Asia. Also, like on the back of the 125 footy podcast page, I'd like to see a streak counter. Like, at the Undertaker, every time he wins at WrestleMania and it says 223 and 0 or whatever. As we head towards 28 and 0 for the Panthers, like I predicted, I'd like to see that. So tomorrow, maybe a bit later than this, there'll be a big 3 and 0 as the Panthers go 3 in a row for 2021. And that's my prediction. 2021 Panthers 28 and 0, baby.
Well, I'll talk to our social media guy and see if he can do that mock up for you. Let's just hope it's not a 2-1, because the train would not go past the third train stop. Stacey.
Just
Yes,
good
bro.
to be back on. Just good to be back on and having a bit of chat with all the boys. We covered a lot of good stuff, so I thought it was a really good podcast. And good to be back on with Tama as well. I know he's passionate about his team, the Panthers, and he gets to gloat with his team doing so well. But yeah, I'm just really looking forward to. There's some pretty strong matchups. This is like a really good round, so I'm just really looking forward to some top of the table clashes, and I think we'll learn a bit more about who's where after this round. So the next podcast should be a really interesting one for sure.
Yeah, I guess this podcast is kind of like the Bulldogs, real inconsistent with its timing at the moment. So we'll keep trying to do this. Okay, and so let's we'll try and start our own streak, as in how many weeks we can. So this is we'll start from 1, and hopefully we get to the end of the season and we haven't had any buys or any losses. So thank you so much, boys. Thank you, Stace, Sammy, Tama.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, boys.
Sweet
We'll
boys.
see you again next week. Thank you,
you.
everyone, for listening.
Yep. Sweet boys.